Hi there, my name is Joy Garza, and my pronouns are she, they, and I'm excited to tell you a little bit more about a new course I'll be teaching in the Department of Anthropology called Language, Race, and Ethnicity. This class is informed by my own training and research interests. I'm really interested in intersectional methods, race, language, gender and sexuality all within the same frame, especially as it pertains to Korean popular culture. Now, in this class, we'll take a look at a range of theories and research coming out of linguistic anthropology, but that focus on language, race, and ethnicity. I would say that this is actually a really exciting kind of subfield within linguistic anthropology. But crucially, within the first couple of weeks, we'll take a look at some classic theories that really inform and shape our understanding of race beyond sort of biological explanations for race. I hope that one of the things that students take away from this course is looking at something as everyday, as mundane as language, whether that's the way that you talk or the way that you hear other speakers or the way that you see language happening on social media, right? And how that informs other ideas that we might not be as attuned to as they relate to race, gender, and sexuality. One of the things that students will be doing in my course, well, first off, my course is once a week. It's a long seminar. I assure you there's a break in between. We will always start with a discussion, and these discussions will be based on the readings for the week, but also crucially to what students are attending to. And I'll find out what you're what you're attuning to, what you want to talk about most by checking out the text reflections that will be posted on Canvas on a weekly basis. So we'll have an open discussion throughout the week that I'll kind of facilitate and guide. Anyone that's taken my courses before knows that my classes are incredibly informed by student discussion, and that can take place in an all group format, or it can take place in pairs and groups, right? And I'm really excited because I think this course will generate a lot of really interesting, timely discussions around language and race. And I'm really relying on students to be the experts here on language that they're sort of attuning to on social media and other platforms. And so the first half of the course will be those discussions, and then the second half will be either workshopping some data. So we'll kind of talk about some data that you might be interested, that I might be interested in, right? And this will give us an opportunity to think about your final projects and interests for, your further research projects, for your theses, etc. But I've also scheduled some really exciting guest speakers for this semester. And I would say that these speakers are really some of the cutting edge in the field, and they're doing really exciting research that not only span sort of the topics I've mentioned, right? Race, language, gender, sexuality, but also really exciting new platforms like TikTok or political discourse and virtue signaling, right? So I'm really excited to have those speakers kind of come and share with us, and we'll of course be engaging their work throughout the week. So I'll be asking students to generate questions for our speakers as well. A particularly interesting example, I think, is the phenomenon of linguistic profiling. Now, this is the idea that particular ways of speaking, or the way that people are perceived to speak, right? Maybe the way that accents are perceived, for instance, have material outcomes, right? So an example of this might be having a particular accent that is racialized, and that informing material outcomes like the ability to gain employment or to gain housing, right? And this is classic sociolinguistic research, and we'll be kind of talking about that. I'm also really excited to share my own research in the realm of linguistic appropriation in K-pop, and we'll kind of talk about how we might examine something like appropriation in a global context, right? So the way that students will be evaluated, I place a huge emphasis on participation. As I mentioned, the weekly discussions are totally student generated in some ways. I shouldn't say totally, but they are informed to a large degree by student interest. And so 20% of your grade is participation and attendance. And then another further 25% will be the text reflections that I mentioned, because that is what I'm attending to when I'm trying to see what are students most interested in, what are they kind of gleaning from the readings. So the text reflections are weekly posts that you will write on Canvas, and they're short posts every week, and I'm asking you to complete 9 out of 12 for the semester. And then all students are asked to complete one discussion lead, and that just entails you doing a thorough synthesis and leading a discussion on one article of your choosing. And I will provide a list of presenter articles, and you get to sign up for one of those for the week. And I think last semester, I was pleasantly surprised to see that students actually found this to be a very helpful exercise, and it also you're able to use that information for your final project as well. So I really encourage students to choose an article that will help them for their final project. I'm also asking students to complete a very short assignment called a racial-linguistic autobiography. Now, this is just an assignment where it's a written assignment where I ask you to reflect on the role of language in sort of informing your own racial or ethnic identity. And I'll obviously provide feedback on that, but it's also a great way for me to get to know you as well, and sort of your experience, or your experiences prior to joining my class. You will also be asked to complete 4 short writing assignments, and these 4 short writing assignments give me an opportunity to provide you feedback, and you'll take that feedback, and those 4 written assignments will then inform your final project. So I'm hoping that by the time your final project comes around, it won't be so daunting, right? You'll have these 4 smaller assignments to then inform the longer written paper, which will be a paper of 10 to 12 pages. And students will be given an opportunity during the last week to get feedback from their classmates about their ideas, and that is meant to be a very low stakes sort of presentation, and that will be worth 5% of your grade. So the full grade breakdown for review is on the Canvas page and linked on the syllabus. If you have any other questions, please feel free to email me, and I hope to see you in the spring.